What's going on? Today we're looking at the solution to the weekly chess quiz. If you didn't get a chance to take that already, don't worry. I'm going to give you a chance to pause the video so you can follow along and see how you stack up against everyone else who already completed it. Speaking of which, we had a fantastic turnout. Over 800 people completed the quiz, ranging from complete beginners all the way up to the highest rated player was, wait for it, 2890. And no, I don't know who that player was. It's an anonymous quiz, so I don't collect names or email addresses. But if you have any guesses who you think that was, let me know. So this time around, I broke all the players into 4 categories. We have under 1,000, we have 1,000 to 1,400, 1,400 to 1,800, and then 1,800 and above. I'm also going to give you my opinion on the positions and what moves I would have played. And then we're going to look at Stockfish and what Stockfish recommends as the best move. So we've got a lot to cover. Let's get started. Alright, so here's position 1. If you do want to go ahead and pause the video, now's the time. Figure out what you would play for black and why, and then you can follow along with the solutions. For everyone else who's already taken the quiz, here we go. So this position was actually interesting because every single group of players, from the lowest under 1,000 all the way up to the highest and everything in between, the most common move in all of those groups was exactly the same. Everybody wanted to play knight takes e5, which was the correct move. And so this was a basic discovered attack on white's queen. Basically, we can move this knight wherever we want, and it unleashes the bishop, and then white has to deal with the queen, and therefore can't take our knight. So that was the idea, and most people actually saw this. Now, don't feel bad if you didn't see it. This is one of those tactics that usually once you see it for the first time, you'll remember it for later. So just make a mental note. If you ever have a discovered attack on a queen, or it could be on another high value piece like a king or a rook as well, look for ways to take advantage of that. Like here, knight takes e5. So congratulations everyone who found that move. Let's move on to position number 2. So this is position number 2. Again, if you would like to pause the video and solve this for yourself, now is the time. Figure out what move you would play for black and why. For everyone else who's ready to see the solution, here we go. Actually, again, on this position, every single group of players recommended the move f5 as the most common move. One thing that I will point out is that a lot of the players under 1,000 seem to think that the reason behind playing this move was to attack the knight because it was trapped. And it's not exactly trapped. Like, yes, it can't really move forward, but there's nothing wrong with going back to c3 as far as this knight's concerned. That's just a trade, and that would be fine for white. The reason that this is such a good position for black is because after you play f5, you can follow it up with the move e4 and create a fork. And so that was really the whole idea behind this position. Now, that being said, a lot of players did see that, even at the lower rated range, so congratulations if that was you. And then on up the categories, again, everybody pretty much saw this idea of just winning a piece. So on to position number 3. Again, if you would like to pause the video, go ahead and do that now and figure out what move you would play as black. For everyone else, here we go. Okay, so this position was a little more interesting than the first two. We had a little bit more variety here. So let's start with the under 1,000 group. So the under 1,000 players, the most common move suggested was bishop to e8. And the reasoning that most people seem to think was that bishop e8 defends this pawn because there's this kind of nasty looking fork on f7. And there's actually nothing wrong with that thought process. I actually considered this move myself and almost wanted to play that. And so if you found that move, that's a really good move, and we'll come back to that a little bit more as well. And now for the next 3 categories, so from 1,000 to 1,400, 14 to 1,800, and then 1,800 plus, everybody said the same move: c takes b2. And most people had the right idea that by capturing here, if white captures with the bishop, well then the knight is going to be undefended, and you just take it with your queen. And this actually was one of the top moves that Stockfish recommended. Not the top move, there was one that it liked a little better, which we'll come to in just a second, but this was a very good move, and so congratulations if you saw that idea. Now, personally, I didn't want to play that because I was a little bit too scared of knight takes f7. For some reason in my mind, I was thinking after captures, we have knight takes f7 check, and after I recapture, if white just recaptures, I felt like this attack was still pretty scary with the rook coming over here, and then, you know, this pawn is now pinned, so I have to watch out for queen takes h6. It turns out it was fine. There's ways that black can defend, but I was a little bit too afraid of that, and so the move that I recommended or the move that I wanted to play instead of capturing was actually queen to f6. So I was trying to think of how can I defend this pawn. So similar to the bishop e8 ideas, except bishop e8 just seemed a little too passive for me. So I thought queen f6 was a way to do that. Also kind of helps out over here and continues to put pressure here as well. So that's what I was thinking. Turns out that wasn't the greatest move, but that's what went through my head when I saw this position. All right, so now the move that Stockfish recommends, and the under 1000 group will be happy to hear this, but it's bishop to e8. So if you said that, congratulations, you agreed with Stockfish. Now, the reason that Stockfish likes this move so much is not just because it defends the pawn, but also because it's creating a discovered attack on the queen. And so, for example, let's just say white makes a move like capturing this pawn. Then you can play the move f5, creating the discovered attack on the queen, and also creating an attack on the rook. So you've got a double attack here, which really puts white in a bad situation. So it was kind of a dual purpose move, not only defending, but also creating a very strong threat in f5, or even f6 kind of does the same thing, attacking the knight and the queen as well. So really good move if you suggested that. Interesting position. It turns out this was the best move, but c takes b2 was a very close second, and my move of queen f6 wasn't awesome. All right, so those were the 3 positions. I hope you guys had fun doing this and maybe learned a thing or two in the process. If you want to get involved in the next week's quiz, the link is going to be in the description below and pinned as a comment, so you can just click on that and it'll take you right to the quiz. Now, a couple of things before we conclude. Number 1, I also asked people to put down the number of positions that they thought was good for a weekly quiz like this, and most people seem to think that 3 was a good number. So going forward, I think we'll just keep it at 3. So thank you guys for that. And then also, if you would like to see the data set that was used to make this video, I'm going to be posting these each week in the Discord server. If you don't know where that is, click the link in the description below. It'll take you right there and you can join that. And then if you just go to the weekly quiz section and click on the data sets channel, you'll be able to see the data sets and you can jump in and analyze the data if you want and see in more detail what types of responses people said. So have fun with that. But as always, thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.